It's three guys, Janak, you can send in like 10. You can send like in 10 seconds.
Anand, you are live. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anand, and on behalf of Godrej Material Handling, I welcome you to our next webinar in the Storage and Handling Knowledge Series titled How to Optimize Your Warehouse Space Using Very Narrow Aisle or VNA Trucks. Today marks it's almost a year when we started the Storage and Handling Knowledge Series, and we started the series of these webinars where we basically bring our 50 plus years of experience to you, basically, and just to talk about the different happenings and the knowledge in the interlogistics space. The webinars have evolved over the months as we have invited experienced professionals to share their vast knowledge about the different topics important to the material handling industry. So on that note, I come to today's webinar, so where we will learn to aim more about how the warehouses are growing and also about the different type of very narrow aisle trucks which can be used to optimize the warehouse space. So today's webinar is being presented by Mr. Abhishek Chaturvedi, who is the Associate General Manager Marketing in the Material Handling Division of Godrej and Boyce. He started his career in Storage and Handling Solutions Division, in Storage Solutions Division of the same company in the year 2000, and has expertise in optimum racking and material solutions in the interlogistics space. Before we move on with the event, I request everyone to please put their questions in the chat box on the right. We shall try to answer them straight away or towards the end of the session in the Q&A round. Please do not forget to mention your names as you type in the questions, so we can reach out to you in case we are not able to take the questions at the moment. With that, I request Abhishek sir to please start, and I hope everybody has an insightful session.
So thank you so much, Anand, for that generous introduction. So first of all, welcome all, and thank you for being a part of this journey, which has turned a year old today. As Anand mentioned, we started this Storage and Handling Knowledge Series platform exactly 1 year ago in May 2020. And the basic premise of creating this platform was to share pure knowledge that we have gained in the interlogistics space so that we can give back to the industry the finer nuances of how to optimize spaces, how to increase productivity, how to increase efficiencies. And over the last 1 year, I must tell you that we are overwhelmed with the response that we have got from the various participants, various audiences, and the type of interactions that we have had on this platform, that today it has become a very thriving platform which invites people from across the industry who wish to understand or gain a bit of knowledge in this particular domain. This platform, we have also invited experts from various fields like from batteries, chargers, flooring, and we intend to continue to do so. So while we are accepting your feedback and your comments, we would be happy if you could tell us the topics that you would like us to cover in the forthcoming sessions. Now, with that background, let us come to today's topic, which is very interesting. And I must say that a very relevant topic in today's time, especially when the demands in the e-commerce space especially are going higher, storage requirements are going higher, and people are looking at optimizing the available spaces. Now, taking that as a cue, we thought let us spend some time and share some solutions which are available in optimization of warehouse space. Now, some of these stuff, because we have been holding these knowledge sharing sessions over the last 1 year, some concepts our regular audiences would have sort of gone through earlier, but I can assure you that when you look at the same concepts in a refreshed context that we are discussing today, it may give some interesting perspective to the topic that we are discussing. So today what we are going to cover is presented on the screen. We are just going to touch upon the broad warehouse trends because we just thought that to give a clear context, it is important that we look at what's happening around and then we try to draw a connection between those trends and the solutions that we intend to talk about, the solutions which are available in the market today. So then once we very quickly understand the trends, we'll jump straight into the various solutions that we have in the very narrow aisle or the VNA category. And we would also like to talk about a bit about order pickers because these also are operating in relatively narrow spaces. So I thought it's prudent that we include this in our session today, basic, and then we intend to cover some parameters. How do you select the VNAs and how do you choose the best fit for your application? And before we conclude, while this session is dedicated to the very narrow aisle equipment, we would also touch upon the other space optimizing solutions that are available in the industry. So, there has been, let me tell you, there has been a lot of evolution in as far as warehouses in India are concerned. I'm sure that many people would have heard the term godowns. And even today, we refer to many storage spaces as godowns. And we remember that almost like 15, 20 years ago, the concept of store was just like a stacking material in bulk storage and not having much palletization. And basically there was a lot of scope of optimization available. And rather there were many losses that were happening, but people were literally like either not aware of it or maybe it was not a triggering point for taking some decisions. But today, warehouses, people understand the criticality of an efficient warehouse in any supply chain, and hence there is a lot of thought which goes into the various parameters in setting up the warehouses. And that has indeed led to a huge increase in the efficiency and productivity of supply chain, because if this block works seamlessly, which is a connect between your input and output, you can rest assured that the supply chain is working fine. Okay, so now when we talk about people really thinking through the warehouses and the types of warehouses, there are broadly two categories of warehouses which have been defined as per the industry standards. There are like the grade A and grade B category of warehouses, which are based on the parameters that are listed on the screen. So basically, we can, in a nutshell, we can say that grade A is an upgraded version of a grade B warehouse, mainly in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of heights, and the amenities that are put in place. So if the basic construction criteria or the build-up criteria is around a grade A warehouse, these are the main pointers that would be coming in consideration when companies are looking for setting up a certain category of warehouses. So as we observe, because we being a part of this industry, we come to know that now, as I mentioned, there is a lot of discussion, lot of impetus being paid on what type of warehouses companies are investing into. So there is a very clear uh, trend which is showing that more and more companies are preferring grade A warehouses, because over the long run with these infrastructure and amenities in place, which I'm going to cover in the subsequent slide, generally your total cost of ownership over a period of time comes down to be lower in a grade A warehouse. So if we talk about the top 8 markets like Mumbai, NCR, Ahmedabad, Chennai, these similarly other top markets, the share of grade A warehouses is slowly uh, getting higher as compared to the grade B and C warehouses. And of course, with the spurt in demand and people looking for last mile solutions and bigger DCs, especially post implementation of GST almost like 4 years ago, the need for bigger warehouses is increasing, and similarly going higher is also something, a trend that we are observing. And as I said, like in the past, when we were working on the concept of godowns and not so structured storages, the footprints of the warehouses were also very small. And plus the existing tax structure also did not facilitate setting up very big warehouses like distribution centers that we are seeing today. So the footprints, 25,000 or 30,000 square feet were like pretty common. Then it slowly upgraded to 50,000 square feet being spoken about. Then since about last 2, 3, 4 years, a 1 lakh square feet warehouse is becoming pretty common. And now as we speak today, people are talking about 2 lakh square feet very commonly, 5 lakh square feet people are like companies are investing in. So basically, the gradually the footprint of warehouses is increasing. Now, the once the footprint of the warehouse increases, the in lieu advantage that you get in optimizing the space multiplies big time. So the space optimization benefits that you will get in a 50,000 square feet will be relatively less than what you will get in a 2 lakh square feet warehouse. Uh, and obviously, because in 50,000 square feet warehouse, the scope of reduction in terms of aisle spaces and adding up to more number of rows will be relatively less as compared to the opportunity that you will get in a bigger warehouse. So I know this is a pretty busy and a very cluttered slide, so please pardon us for that. The main thought is not to really sort of flood you with numbers. What we are trying to bring out here is that yes, the initial investment or the rental cost of a grade A warehouse is indeed higher in the various locations as per the data that's available in various publications. It can range from anything between 10% to 30-35%, the initial rental cost. But because, as I mentioned, of better infrastructure, your throughputs and the longevity of operations in a particular warehouse and the need to have lesser and less frequent maintenance will ultimately offset your higher initial cost because you are able to do more with the same set of space. So that is where the when companies are looking at a horizon of 5 years and more, that's where a grade A warehouse popularity and acceptability is increasing across the country. So that in brief was the trend that we are seeing that. So basically to summarize, the footprint areas are going higher, the heights of warehouses are going higher, and there's a lot of thought on the basics like flooring and having a high quality warehouse. Now, once this is established, now how do we optimize once we have decided it to go in for a grade A warehouse, or even we want to optimize space in a grade B warehouse? So there are various solutions which are available in the market. Let us talk about a few of them. So when we talk about optimization of space, okay, we also need to look at various parameters. What are the needs? What are the loading patterns? What is the type of material movement we would like to have? So basically, we have to look at all the parameters before we come to the most optimum solution. Okay, so some of the interesting parameters, one of the interesting parameters that we know, and what is the main crux of today's discussion is the aisle space that is occupied by equipment. So as you can see on the screen, a forklift conventionally occupies a much higher space as compared to a reach truck, which if we compare with a stacker is equivalent space, but a stacker is mainly a pedestrian equipment and can go to lower heights as compared to reach trucks. But if we want really narrow spaces and higher heights, then a man-up turret stock picker is the equipment that becomes the most suitable. So basically, if the criteria is to go narrower, to go higher, and of course, if we are able to keep the related infrastructure in place, for example, super flat flooring, then a VNA is a man up VNA is the most suited solution when we talk about optimization of space. Just some thumb rule figures basis the type of equipment. So this is just to give a snapshot that if a forklift is able to store say 4,500 pallets in a particular space, basis aisle space and the heights that it can reach. It can go up to 8,000 for a reach truck because it can go higher and of course narrower than a forklift. But a stacker, even though it is working in narrower space, but because it cannot go as high, it is having an equivalent storage like a forklift. But if we talk about a man-up VNA with a narrow space and the maximum possible height, it gets the maximum pallet. So these numbers are just indicative based on actual applications. They may change. But I think directionally, this is a good way to look at what sort of space optimizations can be available with various set of equipment. So what is this equipment that we are talking about? This equipment is a man-up VNA which is available in the market. It has the capacity up to 1 to 1.5 ton, and it can go up to a lift height of 17 meters and has a travel speed of up to 12 kilometers per hour. So basically what we are talking about here is, as I mentioned, that with grade A warehouses going with a higher footprint and going higher. So a product like a man-up VNA can become a very good solution for an application like that, where even the throughputs are higher relatively as compared to a product like reach truck. So why? Because a person going up and having a pallet alongside at a height of say 10 or 11 meters will be relatively more productive as compared to a reach truck where the person is sitting below and trying to load at a height of 10 or 11 meters. So having said that, let me not say that a reach truck is not a very productive equipment. It is. There are many sort of productivity enhancing features in reach trucks as well. So it is a combination of parameters that we should have before we select an equipment. But if space optimization is one of the key criteria, this is one of the good options to look for. So this is just a snapshot of how a man-up VNA works. It's a pretty fast equipment, and this type of equipment is able to do both. It is able to do full pallet handling, and as well as it can develop as an order picker. So wherever there's a combination of uh, a pallet put away as well as order picking as an application, this product comes in pretty handy because both applications can be done together. Of course, this can be used in cold storages as well. We know that within cold storages, with confined spaces and the cost required for setting up the infrastructure for keeping the products under a certain temperature, it is important that space is optimized to the last millimeter. So that is where these products can be modified for application within a cold store up to -30, -35 degrees. I believe they are available in the market. And they can also be equipped with a cabin for the operator, a heated cabin for the operator to facilitate him to work long hours in cold storages. And plus, certain long load handlings also can be facilitated with a product like turret stock picker, and that too in a relatively narrower space. So if there is a long load handling up to a certain dimension, we can look at this equipment to be used for space optimization.
Very narrow aisle electric turret truck creates lean manufacturing cells capable of adapting to your workflows. The reliable TSP truck delivers loads rapidly along a 6-foot wide aisle. Designed with operator safety in mind, the TSP truck's pivoting forks and best-in-class lift capacity allow the operator to easily transport materials between racks without having to turn around. The TSP truck's narrow footprint has the potential to double your production throughput and save money by cutting component travel up to 70% and reducing inventory on hand as much as 85%. It's a flexible truck that keeps the operator in the driver's seat, whether that's managing production schedules or responding to urgent customer demands.
So now, while we are going in for a product like ManUp turret stock picker, one of the most critical aspects is flooring. Okay, so there are certain guidelines defined by every OEM which have to be strictly adhered to for safe operation of a ManUp machine. Because a small sway at a ground level or a small variation at a ground level can multiply big time at heights up to 17 meters. Okay, so and because an operator is going up, and if there is lot of vibrations at heights, it will not be a comfortable situation for an operator to operate at those heights, and plus it will not be safe either. So there are certain guidelines which are available which have to be adhered at the time of civil construction. So this is one of the key asks of any ManUp VNA. Okay, so there are different parameters in flooring. There is a parameter of strength, there is a parameter of flatness, there is a parameter of being at level. So all these parameters have to be in place for the flooring to be considered as suitable for a machine like ManUp turret stock picker. And then there are various guidance systems which are necessary for safety as well as high productivity of these equipment. So why do we have a guidance system? Okay, now this is a very interesting concept because generally what we believe that if we have higher than the recommended aisle, it is always better for the operator because he or she gets extra clearance while operating a equipment. Now that is actually detrimental for a product like ManUp VNA. Why? Because the way the equipment is constructed, it is very, very customized to the location or the application and the pallet sizes and the various parameters such as beam spans and the available spaces, that any space higher than what is recommended will not allow the equipment to reach into that space. It will fall short because the equipment is moving just straight, and it is only the turret which is keeping the pallet or on the left or right of the system. Now, to facilitate that straight movement along the aisle so that steering gets locked and operator by mistake also is not able to change the direction of equipment while it is in the aisle. One, and secondly, so that it can move at high speeds because the steering is locked. These are the two reasons why a guidance system is necessary. Okay, so there are two broad types of guidance systems which are available. One is wire guidance and other is rail guidance. While the third, the guidance system is about end of aisle control, which I'll just talk about in subsequent slides. Now, rail guidance, as the name suggests, so alongside the racking system, the rail is grouted on the floor at the time of setting up of the racks, and that is predefined when the equipment is being configured to an application. That's why I said that this is a highly customized equipment. So all these parameters are pre-configured, and basis that the rollers are set on the truck so that there is complete compatibility between the guide rail and the uh, rollers. Okay, so this is a rail guidance system. Okay, now in rail guidance system, one of the of course the cost component is the rail itself, but the other part is that rail, unlike wire, I'm going to talk about the wire guidance as well. Rail, unlike wire, is not dependent on electrical pulses. Okay, so in wire guidance system, we have the line drivers. There is a wire which is sort of inserted in the floor in the center of the aisle, and the equipment sensor is able to sense the electrical pulses that are there in the for it to run in the predefined direction which is set by the wire. Okay, uh, but in case of a power cut or in case of loss of power, the wire guidance system becomes redundant, because unless there is a continuous power supply to the wire, this guidance system would not work. So that is one of the aspects that has to be taken care of. At the same time, wire is uh, is a much neater system, so to say. Okay, because in rail guidance system, by creating those islands of rail, the cleaning of the spaces below the bottom beam or at the ground level becomes a challenge, because that is obstructed by the guide rails. And of course, if people want to for stacking, destacking, at that point of time also, we have to clearly properly configure the pallets so that when the folks are trying to get into that space, the rails are not becoming an obstruction. Okay. And another aspect which is not in favor of rail guidance is that because it is a long section and a metallic section, and it is having joints in between. So if over a period of time the bolts, the grouting bolts come off and the rails become sort of disjointed, those sharp edges may have a impact on the rollers. Okay, so so these are the few pros and cons of both types of systems, and depending on the choice of a certain application, both solutions are available in the market. Now, the third system is a safety system wherein there are now these equipment are high speed equipment. Okay, so we we do not want the equipment to be shooting out of the aisles and creating a hazard for people or other equipment moving in transfer aisles or outside the aisle. So there is a mechanism put in place which is known as end of aisle control, wherein there are a couple of magnets which are placed on either side of the aisle, wherein the first magnet is sensed by the equipment for slowing down, and the second magnet ensures that the product comes to a stop. So that by default the equipment has slowed down and stopped so that it is always coming out of the aisle slowly. Okay, so this is another guidance system which facilitates safe operation. Now, these are pretty common safety features which are part of this equipment. So in this very short video, let me talk about another feature which is available in these category of products, which is a mix of ensuring safety against various obstructions that we spoke about, just like end of aisle control. Also, this particular features also ensures higher productivity by ensuring that the equipment reaches the desired location in an automated way using the shortest path available in an aisle. Just let us go through this video and then we can discuss this further. So that was about auto positioning and auto fence system. As you could have seen that this category of equipment are able to have multiple technologies which aid the safety, ensure the safety, and uh, help in increasing the productivity as well as optimize the space. So certain criteria, just like a refresher, that of course super flat flooring is, as I mentioned, the one of the key criteria, and as per OEM recommendation has to be there. Definitely this has to be a guided system. Uh, and if companies generally sort of transfer equipment from one location to another, in case they want they are changing location, or there's an excess equipment on a site, that should be done as per OEM guidelines and recommendations. And flooring, in case there are damages to flooring for whatever reason, they need to be, and if these floors are where the equipment is operating regularly, they need to be maintained pretty regularly and quickly. And of course, the guidance system also, especially if it is a rail guidance system, a regular audit and maintenance should be done for guidance system for safe and efficient movement of this equipment. Now, this was all about man up very narrow aisle equipment, a turret stock picker. Now let us move on to the next category of very narrow aisle equipment, which is articulated forklifts. This is also a very narrow aisle equipment. This is actually a very unique combination of what should I say, a ruggedness of a forklift and a versatility of maybe a turret stock picker and a narrow aisle performance of a turret stock picker. Because all said and done, all of us would agree that any day a forklift is the most robust of the entire category of material handling equipment that we have, and that's how they are subjected to so much abuse, and a lot of hard work is done through forklifts. But the only parameter that does not make them suitable, as we saw in the previous slide, was the footprint of the equipment, which leads a higher space of operation, and that's why we have a different set of equipment for operating in narrower spaces. So, but this particular equipment, articulated forklift, takes all the advantages of a forklift and matches it with a narrow aisle performance to give a very unique combination. So these are able to also operate in narrow spaces as narrow as 1.8 meter, and they can go as high as 12.5 meter. And a normal Tramix flooring, not a super flat flooring, which is a requirement of a man-up machine, is something which is suitable for an articulated forklift. So this picture is self-explanatory that an articulated forklift occupies a much lesser, rather 50% lesser space as compared to a forklift, and up to 30-35% lesser than a reach truck. Now, let me back to the point that I made earlier about the bigger the footprint, the higher is the advantage. And this is where it is easily understood that if we are able to save, say, 2 meters in, say, 3 eyes or 2 eyes, just one more row. But if we are able to save, say, 20 meter in, say, 15 or 16 eyes, then maybe we are able to add in, say, 7, 8, 10 rows. And looking at heights and pallets per racking system, that much additional space is something that we can get from a defined footprint area of a warehouse. So bigger the warehouse, bigger the advantage is the point, and that's the trend that we are seeing today, that people are going in for bigger footprint high warehouses, and they are going higher. So there is always this concern that like with an articulated forklift, where we are able to achieve the narrow aisle performance because the equipment is not turning fully. It's only the mast which is articulating. So sometimes there is a concern about the stability of the equipment. So this is explained in this slide in a very scientific way. It's called a stability triangle, which is the triangle formed between the two wheels in the front and the axle behind. So your center of gravity should lie always within that for the truck to be stable and not topple. Now, if we compare it with an article, so on the left hand side is the conventional forklift. On the right hand side, it is the articulated forklift. Now, as you see here, this first. OK, now very interestingly, actually, if you see, this is relatively more stable than a conventional forklift, because the center of gravity is at a place where going left or right, it has more space to travel, like in case it is turning or the equipment is turning with a sharp bend and all, whereas in a conventional forklift that leeway space is quite less. So on the contrary, an articulated forklift is it's very interesting, but it's scientifically it is more stable as compared to a conventional forklift. This is just to bust that myth about stability of articulated forklifts. Now this is about articulated forklift, which has, as I said, it can go work in spaces of up to 1.8 meters, and it has a capacity up to 2 tons. So these are the few parameters which I think are important in optimizing the space. And because of the wheels, it can operate in not so good floors also as compared to a turret stock picker, man-up turret stock picker. Okay. Uh, so these are the few criteria that are important. And one more thing, when we talk about throughput, now this will give a normal throughput as comparable to a reach truck or a forklift, but as compared to a man-up VNA, the throughput will be relatively lesser because this is again a man-down machine as compared to a man-up machine. So again, as I said, we have to look at all the parameters when we are uh, trying to define or identify the right product or the right solution for our application. Now, as I mentioned that when we talk about space optimization, it is also important that the right application has the right product. Okay. Now, order picking, as we all know, is an application wherein the pallet is broken up into smaller boxes or cases or eaches to build up a pick list order. Okay, and this all depends on how a particular application is structured. Is it a picking intensive application, or is it a pallet put away intensive application? Basis that the mix of equipment or the type of equipment is defined. Now, having said that, uh, man up order picker is always a preferred choice when it is an order intensive application where the need is to optimize space by going higher and going narrower as well. Okay, so that is where a man up order picker, not a turret stock picker, which does a pallet put away also. This does not do a pallet put away. So that's why this product is mainly suited for those applications which are only about order picking, not about pallet put away. Now, these are the various applications that are there for an order picker, which are available in the market. So various options are available in an order picker. So you can have forks which are fixed, which may have a cage in front for it, go in with a harness and safety belt to place products there, or you can have auxiliary forks in front of the operator, which will allow the pallet to come slightly up so that the operator does not have to bend while keeping the product. So these sort of features are available generally in order pickers available in the market. One of the very important parameters that we must talk about here is that many times when it is a mix of application where a pallet put away is also part of the application and order picking is also required to be done. So like there have been quite a few instances where people use cages mounted on products like reach trucks, and then the operator is like carried onto the cage to the height to do order picking or cycle counting, which is not at all recommended for safety reasons. And these equipment are not designed for that. I mean, there's a reason why these we have different categories of products. I mean, there's a product which is a pure order picker, and then there's a product which is like a pure pallet handler. And there's a reason why they are designed like that, because all the safety parameters, the design platforms are built around that particular need that has to be fulfilled. If we try to fulfill a need on which is not really the design platform for which it is made, then we are compromising the safety of the overall application. So to mitigate that, so this is one wrong practice which we do not recommend at all of mounting a cage on a product like Reachtruck to do order picking. In that case, definitely an order picker should be used. But we have definitely seen applications where customers have used a Reachtruck to do an order picking, but not with a cage. In those applications, the pallet is brought, order picking or break bulk is done, and then the pallet is placed back to the original location. Now, of course, you can. This is not the most efficient way of doing order picking. So in those applications where so sometimes customers use a mix of Reachtruck and order picker in the same vicinity. So an order picker, even though it requires a aisle space of say 2 meters, still it is operated in aisles as wide as say 3.2 meters, which is the aisle space where the Reachtruck is also required to operate. In that case, the operators have to be careful that they are not too near nor too far from the racking system, because in that environment they are working without a guidance system. So that is a safety sort of a tip that we would like to share, that in those applications, the order picking has to be done in a way that not too near the rack, not too far away from the rack, and maybe some markings on the floor may help in defining the right position of order picker before the operator takes the cash up to do the required order picking. So this is another way where we can optimize either the space or the productivity of the application. So another interesting product where which can save space also, and which can lead to a saving in a construction of shelving system as well, is a work assist vehicle, which typically replaces a staircase, which is generally used in a shelving system to access heights. So this type of very small footprint vehicle with a low load capacity of about 110 kgs below and 90 kgs on the platform in front of the operator, about 200 kg of payload carrying capacity, comes in very handy for picking small items from heights, and especially when customers are going in for multi-tier shelving. At least one tire can be eliminated. That steel that is required at one level can be eliminated by having a product like work assist vehicle, which will not only increase the productivity, because the person is now not walking, she is actually traveling. And secondly, it will also lead to saving in cost and optimize space by working in narrow eyes and not requiring maybe the catwalk level that is generally placed at a height of 7 feet, because this can get you a reach of up to 15 feet. So basically G plus 1 level in a shelving system can be handled by a wave, and G plus 3-4 level onwards, the normal catwalk panels can be put in place. So this is another interesting concept for optimizing the space. So this offers a safer and productive environment, because it takes away the requirement of a person moving long distances or using stairs to get products from heights. And so various safety features are part of the equipment which are available in the market. A short video just to explain how it works. So before we go to the next slide, this particular product, a work assist vehicle, also because it is replacing staircase, it can also develop as your maintenance buddy. I mean, in case lower height applications, if you want to do maintenance at heights, change bulbs, and maybe do some maintenance on the walls or do some painting on the walls and all that. So this actually can develop as various work assist accessory, wherein you need to access heights in a very safe and productive way. Apart from, of course, its core purpose of doing order picking. So that's what it is about. So basically, we have today spoken about, when we talk about equipment, we have spoken about two broad operations, pallet picking and order picking. In this, we have spoken about turret stock picker and articulated truck. And here in order picking, we have spoken about high level order picker and work assist vehicle. So just a sum up of what we have spoken about. As I mentioned, one of the key asks of man up turret stock picker is super flat flooring guidance system. And the other parameters are like it can go up to 17 meters. It can work with single deep racking only. And it has a faster throughput as compared to articulated. And it can also be used for order picking. And articulated truck does not require a very specific flooring. A decent Remix flooring can also work, industrial flooring. It can be used both inside and outside the warehouse. It does not require a guidance system. It can go up to 12.5 meters of space. And there are solutions available for both single deep and double deep applications. Okay, and of course, I mean, because this is a pallet handling equipment, it is not recommended for order picking. Okay, while in order picker, it can go up to 9 meters height, 9.5 meters is available. And 1.3 tons is the capacity. Of course, with heights, there are durations available. When we talk about turning radius, basically it is when it is coming out of the aisle and going into the next one, but it can operate in as narrow a aisle as 1.8 to 2 meters, and it can be guided or unguided, as I explained uh, in the previous slides. When it is being used along with reach trucks, it is generally unguided, but then due diligence has to be paid to make sure that the operator aligns the truck in the right location to be able to safely and productively do the picking. Whereas work assist vehicles can go up to the platform is up to 3 meters, and with a person standing there, you get reach up to say 15 feet, and it can work in very narrow aisle and a capacity of 90 kgs on the load tray and 110 kgs on the main deck below. It can be guided or unguided, and it can be used for maintenance tasks where you're generally using staircases. Now, while the topic was about very narrow aisle equipment, I like we thought that it would not be complete till we talk about the other space optimizing solutions as well, which are pretty popular and available in the market. One of the like few of them are like mobile racking, wherein the aisle spaces like shift. So the racks are generally moving on rails, of course, with a power source. And these aisles, which are created in between, is designed as per the required MHE. So this is where you can actually get a very high space utilization, because you're literally having just one aisle across the entire block. And of course, because there is some sort of thought process has to go into how will the material flow, and so that the throughput and everything is pretty planned, which so the loads have to be placed and stacked in a way so that when the unloading or loading has to happen, it follows a certain pattern, so that we don't have to, like, the operator doesn't have to jump from one aisle to another to keep taking out pallets, placing pallets, which will unnecessarily impact the overall throughput or the efficiency of the operation. So this is one solution that we have for optimizing the space. Other very common solution which is available in the market, and it's one of the most common solutions, is a double deep racking. Now every solution that we are talking about is a combination of racking as well as equipment. So there are compatible equipment also that have to be considered while those solutions are being spoken about. So in double deep racking, basically every alternate aisle is removed, and the product, which is like a double deep restruck, and as we said, we also have articulated forklift now available in the market with double deep attachments. So these trucks, while operating in one aisle, can reach out to the second deep pallet also, and thereby giving that almost double the space utilization as compared to when we are keeping aisles after every 2 rows. Here, the aisles are maintained after every 4 rows, and that's where the space optimizations come into place. Now, double deep racking is one of the most common uh, solution used in cold storages. Okay, because it optimizes space to the maximum, and it gives the flexibility that any aisle is accessible at any point of time for the product to go in and take out the desired pallet. And of course, when we are doing double deep stacking, obviously it is well known that the second deep pallet can only be removed once the pallet in front has been removed. So those sort of material planning is important while a double deep racking is being designed. Next popular concept is a drive-in racking, where the product literally, as you can see from the name itself, it is a drive-in racking. So the product literally travels inside the product. And this is another solution which highly optimizes the available space. Rather, even so, there is no aisle. The aisle itself is converted into a storage space in literal terms. Okay, so now in this, obviously, because the product has to travel inside the racking system, obviously all the parameters have to be checked while planning this system. Another aspect that is important is that in a drive-in system, you cannot have an access to any pallet at any time. We can either follow a LIFO or a FIFO system, last in first out or first in first out only. So so if the product categories are pretty homogeneous, like at any point of time, there will be say 100 pallets of same type coming in, and they have to be sort of stacked at one go. And anything, anywhere, like anything you pick, anything you keep doesn't matter. There's no sort of sequence to that. Then it is perfectly fine to have a loading system like this, because if you have to remove any pallet in between, you have to remove all the pallets which are there in front, and not only that, right from bottom to top. So if any pallet has to be removed from say the third row, you have to remove everything that is there in front before you are able to access that pallet. Okay, so this is but if everything falls in place, this is a very good space optimizing solution. Now, to mitigate the challenge of having to remove all the pallets on the height to be able to access the pallet, there is another solution which is very popular, which is called a shuttle racking, where there is a carrier of pallet which is called a shuttle, which is placed on various levels, which moves along the channel and places the pallet along the depth of that particular row. Okay, now in that case, at least for that level, there is a flexibility. So for example, in driving system, if you have to access the behind pallet, you have to remove all the pallets in front at every height. In shuttle racking system, you have individual access to each row. Okay, so yeah, the LIFO and FIFO is restricted to each row on the height. So if you have to take it from say G+3 level, any palette, you don't have to remove anything from G plus G or G+1 or G+2 level. You can straight away go to G+3 level. Yes, of course, in G+3 level, you can remove only the first palette first, which is in front of the racking system, not the behind one. For getting the behind one, obviously you have to remove the equipment which are the pallets which are in front. And in both cases, the right equipment has to be selected because there are certain parameters which have to be considered while selecting a equipment for that. If any such solution is being considered, uh, do contact us because we may be able to suggest the right solution for you. And we also have very highly automated system, which are automatic storage and retrieval systems, which can go from very semi-automated to fully automated manless operations with stacker cranes, conveyors in place, which have their own programming logic basis which the entire movement and throughputs are mentioned. And these solutions also need to be complemented by equipment so that the overall efficiency of system is maintained. So this is another space optimizing solution which is available in the market. And of course, whatever solutions we are talking about or we have spoken about in today's session, as I've mentioned, there are various parameters, various pros and cons which are associated with each solution. So whenever you are working on any such solution, do invite the industry experts. You can invite us to be a part of your planning exercise so that we can jointly work out the most optimum solution for your application basis your needs, basis your priorities. So with that, I have just taken about an hour, the slotted time to communicate what I had to communicate. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take those questions. Anant, over to you.
Thank you, sir, for explaining us and taking us through the different very narrow aisle trucks in such a concise yet a very clear manner. So I do have a couple of questions from our attendees. The first one, sir, I'll just put up. So, sir, could you elaborate more on the pros and cons between the wire guidance system and the roller-based guidance system?
Right. So, so let me first begin by saying that a wire guidance system needs a continuous supply of power for this to be operational. So if the power outage is there, the equipment will become unguided and like it's not safe. Okay, so if it is a wire guided system, we have to ensure that at any point of time the operations are on, the power is not compromised. So that is one of the key asks of a wire guidance system. When I talk about rail guidance system, there are certain aspects that have to be taken care of. First of all, the ground level removal of pallet is something that has to be understood, or either we may need to have a bottom beam, which is definitely not required in a wire guidance system because there is no obstruction for the folks to pick up from ground. But in rail guidance system, because of that channel coming in the way, we have to really either have a bottom beam or have some arrangement to pick the bottom pallet. That's criteria number one. Criteria number two, as I mentioned, because these are long channels which are grouted on the floor and they have maybe butt joints in between to sort of match those channels along the length. Over a period of time, they are susceptible to have some wear and tear. When that happens, they have to be maintained regularly and quickly so that they do not compromise the safety of the rollers that we have. So for areas where power is a problem, rail guidance is something that is highly recommended. But if power is not a problem, then wire guidance any day works out to be better because of these parameters. And plus another important aspect, that if we have to clean the ground space, if we need access to that ground space clearly, in that case also, uh, a rail guidance becomes sort of a hindrance. I mean, cleaning the ground level becomes a challenge. And accessing pallets, in case if people want to use, say, a hand pallet truck to pick up the pallet from the ground level or something like that, in some exceptional cases, in a wire guided system that is possible, but in a rail guidance, that rail will become an obstruction. So these are the pros and cons of the two types of guidance systems that we have.
Thank you, sir, for taking us through those. Sir, so can you also elaborate on how we can further increase the throughput of VNAs?
Okay, so first of all, when we talk about VNS, there are both VNS, whether we talk about articulated forklifts or a turret stock picker, they have a certain set of productivity enhancing parameters. For example, if we talk about articulated forklifts, accessories like camera system, rack assist, these features help the operator to have better judgment and hence become more productive. So if the operator is more productive, obviously it has a positive impact on the throughput. When we talk about man up VNAs, first of all, as I mentioned, because the design of a man up machine is such that the person is always near the loading unloading location. So he is much more faster compared to any equipment where the operator is sitting down and trying to take out or keep a pallet at a height of say 9 or 10 meters or maybe higher. Okay, so that is one parameter. The design itself is adding to the throughput. Secondly, a guided system also helps the product to really be operated at a very high speed, because the steering is sort of immobilized in a aisle space. So all the operator has to do is move fast. OK, so that is the second aspect. And third aspect is there are accessories like auto positioning system, which also take away the judgment of what path to take while reaching or trying to access a particular location. So whether the operator should go first with the cabin down and then rise, or whether the operator should raise the cabin up, then go straight, that judgment is taken away with products like auto positioning systems. Now these parameters enhance the productivity, and not to mention, when you have a good infrastructure like flooring, everything in place, and all the safety related aspects are covered in the equipment like end of aisle control, auto fence, then the operator feels very, very safe while operating that equipment. Now, when an operator feels safe and comfortable in operating an equipment, obviously he or she will be more productive, and obviously that will have a impact on the throughput.
Thank you, sir. So the next question, sir, is when we talk about TSPs, we heard about that the different flooring considerations we need to take care of when we are looking at VNAs. So could you elaborate more on the flooring considerations we need when considering turret stock figures, and also maybe if you could elaborate on the considerations for other VNAs as well.
Right. So, first of all, these are guidelines which are well understood by the people in the civil functions. So there are certain set of guidelines which, as a part of our note to our participants, we can share with them. So basically, what we talk about are the tolerances along the span of the aisle. So those tolerances can be anything varying between 1.6 to 2 mm. So yeah, that's the tightness of tolerances across a span that is spoken about. Now, and also it has to be managed across the length of the aisle. So there are two aspects. One is the width of the aisle from left to right. There has to be a certain tolerance, and then along the aisle, so that there is the level is not like a slant. So it is level. And the third parameter is, of course, the load capacity of the floor. I mean, flooring is not really just about the flatness, it is also about the strength. So these tightness of tolerances is mandatory for an equipment like a man-up turret stock picker, but they are bit more relaxed for a product like uh, a reach truck or an articulated forklift. There are certain guidelines which are like under TR34 is the guidelines which are used, generally referred for having those uh, considerations for flooring. And one myth I would like to bust when the discussion is going on about flooring, that many times customers feel that epoxy is the solution or the final product for getting smoothness or the level of the floor. Uh, Not at all. I mean, epoxy is not at all the recommended flooring solution for areas where the MEG is supposed to work, because at the end of the day, epoxy is just a rubber component defined to give some bit of aesthetics to an industrial flooring. So wherever it is a area where people are walking or there's stationary machinery, there epoxy can be recommended to get a good sort of a look of the area. But where the equipment are supposed to run, if we are filling up crevices using epoxy, and then if we are saying that okay, look wise it is flat, but those crevices are just filled by a rubber component, and when equipment is running over that epoxy over that crevice, it is tendency to sort of get churned out of that place or get damaged. And then there are complaints of epoxy being damaged by equipment or markings being there on epoxy. But epoxy is not supposed to carry loads of material handling equipment. So I just wanted to use this question to also answer that epoxy is not the solution if the flooring has gone bad. It has to be redone as per the specifications defined by the OEM.
Thank you, sir. So before I move on to the next question, I'd like to remind all attendees to please and request to please fill out the feedback form, the link to which we have put in the Q&A box. Your feedbacks really help us understand and improve upon our sessions, and also make note of what sessions you would like us to take on in the future and what topics you'd like us to cover.
Right.
With that, sir, the next question is on cold rooms. So, like, generally, what are the kind of modifications we look at if a VNA has to be used in cold rooms? And do cold rooms really affect the productivity of a machine? I mean, of these VNAs, for example, they use there. Does the temperature affect the productivity?
See, as far as the speeds are concerned, they don't change if the equipment is being used in cold room. Okay, so the speeds remain the same. Now, when we talk about modifications, of course, when a product is designed for a cold room, there are certain basic level of changes which are done, which is mainly to do with uh, how the metal is treated, which is being used in the construction of the equipment. The type of coating which is done, the type of pre-paint treatment which is done, and the type of painting. So that is the one first thing that is done, so that it is able to sustain any humidity, like especially when there is a scratch or something there. The second part is about when it goes into a colder temperature, the oils have to be of a different grade. Okay, so it is relatively less viscous as compared to the trucks which are used in areas where which are ambient. Okay, so that is where the difference is there. And third, there are certain heaters which are put in place, certain connectors which have to be sealed so that the water ingress is not there. So these are the few changes which are done for the truck to be safely operated in a cold storage. At the same time, this truck, which is so modified for cold storage application, has to operate only between an ante room, which is maintained at 0 to -4 degrees Celsius, and the cold store. I mean, that truck should not be used in ambient. If there is a situation where the truck has to necessarily go out in the ambient temperature from cold storage, uh, scientifically, there is going to be a condensation which will happen, and there will be water droplets all over the equipment. So it is very, very important when you're talking about the speeds, and this is where it becomes very critical that uh, in such a scenario, the equipment has to be completely dried out. All the water has to be ensured either through a blower or maybe while it is through a dehumidifier. The entire water is drained of the equipment before it is again taken back into the cold store. Now, if the ante room is not maintained and every time the cycle has to be like this, the product goes inside cold store, comes to ambient, it has to be dried down and then go back inside. That is what will impact the speed, not the speed within the cold storage. The process that will impact the speed rather than the product itself. I hope I am able to answer that question.
Thank you, sir. So when we talk about order picking, can you, sir, help elaborate more on what kind of safety precautions and safety measures can be taken when going for order picking or when using an order picker?
Right. So see, order picking is very, I would say, a vast subject because order picking happens at all levels. Order picking happens at ground level, mid level, and high level, and accordingly the equipment are also defined. I mean, you have low level order pickers, mid level, high level order pickers. So all of them have their own criterias for getting selected for an application. Now let me bring my sort of discussion on the high level order picker, maybe mid level also. So again, within that, it depends on what type of picking is being done. So many times in applications, a cage is mounted on the forks and the pick list items have to be placed on the in the cage. So that is one way. So there the operator is always restricted within the confines of the compartment. Now in that case, while the operator is operating the equipment, uh, his foot, both foot have to be on the presence pedal and both sort of hands have to be on the controls for the equipment to move. So any of the arms or legs move from these controls, then the equipment will stop completely. So these are the safety. This is one of the safety checkpoints which are built in place so that the equipment even by mistake is not moving when the order picking is being done. So once the equipment is completely stationary, at that point of time, the picking application happens. Now, another very important tip that in no condition should two people be going in for order picking. It should be only the picker which should become an operator in an order picking application. And why so? It is for the purpose of safety. Okay, so that there is no situation where there is a mix of picking and operation which is happening at the same time. Okay. Third thing is, as I was mentioning, cage is one part of it. Now, in some applications, it so happens that the operator has to move into the cage or onto the pallet to place the product on the farther side, which is not accessible from the operator compartment. In that case, if the operator, of course, has to have a safety lanyard connected to the compartment. The pallets and the cage have to be locked with the fork with a pallet clamp. OK, and then only the operator should be able to go inside the should be going inside the pallet. Other option, as I was explaining, that there are certain products which are available in the market which have auxiliary lifts available on the forks. Now, when these forks are available, the operator can simply lift the pallet in front of him or her and then reach that end location, which otherwise would have been inaccessible if the pallet is down on a fixed floor variant of an order picker. So these are various nuances or small parameters which are, or rather should be, in consideration when a right product is being selected.
Thank you for explaining that so clearly and easily, sir. So I'm towards the end of my questions. I just have one last question here. So when we consider mobile racking, is there a certain type of MHEs which you would recommend to be used with the mobile racking system?
OK, so in see, mobile racking is, if I look at it this way, so there are rack on the left, there's a rack on the right, and you have to have an MHE which goes in between to do the pallet put away or picking up a pallet. So in that sense, the basic parameters of aisle spaces, load capacities, heights being met, you can select an equipment like a reach truck or an articulated forklift to access those racks. The only parameter that I would draw a caution on is that these mobile racking systems are moving on rails. And now those rails are generally like embedded on the ground, and rightly so, to facilitate the equipment to get into those aisle spaces. Now, once that designing is being done, that space where the rollers of the mobile system are moving, somewhere that I mean, people should be vigilant about that, that if that is too wide, then it may have some sort of an impact on the longevity of wheels of reach truck. OK, while a product like maybe an articulated forklift may be able to negotiate that better because of the bigger wheels. But again, as I said, that there are many parameters to be looked at before we select a solution, and this is one of the parameters. And rather very interestingly, like we had come across one case where like the customer wanted to have space optimization within the mobile racking instead of keeping a very wide aisle. So in that case, people were like evaluating whether we can give a man-up turret stock picker in mobile racking system where the aisle spaces open up at a fixed direction, and we have wire guidance like preset in those locations. And that solution was like a very interesting and innovative solution to think about. So as I'm saying that these products are just, I would say, a constituents of any solution that can be customized to an application. I mean, we just had to be a bit maybe innovative or imaginative to come up with some unique solutions with standard products.
That was very interesting to hear that. So that puts us at the end of our Q&A. We've covered all the Q&As and we have also almost run out of time. So I'd like to really